we exist on the outdoors. If there isn't a good, healthy outdoors, we really don't have a business model. What keeps you up at night or scares you, either from your own business or from the American outdoor experience in general? And we can start with the microphone, Josh. What scares you most about what's threatening that, or what might diminish that? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well, for me, it's Mark's mission in life down there is close to me because so what I fear the most is that we won't succeed in our mission of cracking this nut of access, of getting the average person access to these kinds of experiences, especially in some of the stuff that's more aggressive, like a 7-day canoe trip or hunting for that matter, because we while it's great that so much technology is at our fingertips and we become so digital, it also separates us in so many ways from the outdoors, things that are real. And I think, for me, my story is with Dan and the other co-founder, Craig. I've been hunting with him enough times where I've realized the simple truth that you can't go into the outdoors and command it. You can't make it what you want it to be like you can with things on your phone. If I'm working and I can't get to lunch, I can just open up Bite Squad and get Sawadee delivered. It doesn't work like that in the outdoors, and that's not the real world. That's not the way it works. And when we touch those experiences in the outdoors, and we do have access, they're so earth-shattering for younger people because so much of their lives are controlled through technology, and it feels like you have all this power, but it's not. It's not how the outdoors works. And I know we've all got experiences like that. So I guess what I fear the most is that we will struggle to tell those stories and create access and sort of a new channel to them, because what a shame that a generation and maybe even more generations just won't have that chance.
It's important for people to learn that if their bear pack wasn't hung high enough, they still have to survive for the next 5 days. It's a good point. That's a good point. It's part of the adventure. Maybe it's bears send people out without food, make them forage. Dean is over here.
I think what keeps me up at night is, like I mentioned, we've had in the RV industry several years of record-breaking sales. This year, we're projected to break like 500,000 units in total industry sales of RVs. And what it's really doing, I'm hearing this from several different fronts, is outstripping the resources that are out there. So people are having a hard time finding campgrounds and camp spots. And then on the service side of the business, dealers just can't keep up with the amount of service as well. So in fact, the service center that we run in Forest City, I think we're booking out until Labor Day right now. So if you wanted to get in for service on your RV, that's how long it would take, and that's not atypical. So I guess what worries me and keeps me up is that when we sell a product, we're making a promise of the experience, and I'm worried about the experience not keeping up, and that people buy an RV in our particular case, and when they actually go to use it, then there isn't a place for them to use it, or they can't get the help that they need to use it well.
So that's a real threat to reputation, even though the reputation is really important. But if you can't service just out of the logistics of the business,
right,
that's
right,
a threat.
And it's not just us, but it gets translated to our brand.
Of course, yeah, right. Claire.
This is a question that I'm pretty passionate about. I could probably talk about this all day, but I'll try to keep it short. The biggest thing that keeps me up at night is absolutely loss of access to wild places and loss of public lands. Our public lands and our wilderness areas are under major threat right now from a variety of different angles. And that is, it's tough and it's scary, but it's also a marathon and not a sprint. I mean, this is a battle that my grandparents fought in the 50s and 60s. It's a battle that my parents had to fight throughout their time as outfitters, and it's one that we are continuing to fight today. So it's something that is important to us, it's important to the next generation, it's important to our customers, but it's something that we need to be vocal about and be talking about with people, that these lands aren't just guaranteed to be there protected forever. I'm also an attorney, I'm licensed in Minnesota, so I've read the Wilderness Act and I follow along with the lawsuits and participate in some of them and do some pro bono work. I've been in DC recently in March talking with legislators and senators about the threats to our wild places and what we need to do to keep those protections in place so that people can access it, so that it's there for them to access. I mean, there's a lot of talk about how do we, get to engage people and how do we get them there, but, none of that matters if there isn't a wild place for them to go visit in the first place. So that's really our biggest concern and our biggest fight, is making sure that people know how important these wild places are, whether you visit them or not. Just knowing that they exist in our world and knowing that they're out there, I think, is important for the human psyche. And it's important to, your friends and your family. And it's important to the next generation too. I've got a toddler and one on the way, so this is important to me from a business standpoint, from a personal standpoint, and something that I think needs to be talked about more.
Since you advocate for it at the public level, I've read recently that a lot of people just aren't aware that these are our wild places and our wild lands. Are you seeing more evidence of, I didn't know I owned that? Love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of people that live locally up here who have never been to the Boundary Waters, or don't know of the national significance. It's a really unique wilderness area. It has unique protections. It's unique in the wilderness landscape across our country. There are special protections in place in the Boundary Waters that other places don't have, like the flyover zone. You can't fly below a certain altitude in the Boundary Waters. That doesn't exist in a lot of other wilderness areas. So it is a really special and unique place. You can drink the water right out of the lakes. I don't know of anywhere else in this country or this world that you can really do that. And people aren't aware that it is something that is theirs also. Whether you're local, 5th generation from Cook County like myself, or whether you are coming to us from, Utah or New Mexico, it's a national treasure. It's part of our national heritage.
I think everybody feels good as a lawyer and an outfitter on the team
And my
protecting
husband,
our outdoors.
and my husband is a chemist, so we're quite the
That's
duo.
great. Wonderful. Thank you. Mark?
Here, public lands, absolutely access. I think that's a huge deal. I'm with you on that. As a relative of mine who was up for Memorial Weekend from Texas this weekend called it, what's that Wild Lakes place up north? I think there's a lot of challenges that are out there, and I could talk for a long time on this, but I am also hopeful. I think access, as Claire mentioned, is definitely something that gives me great concern. It's something I'm focused on, and a lot of people I work with are also, is a fundamental principle of the work that we do. Another one I think is though, I think if you look at whether it's technology or other things that are distractions, I think the statistic I heard the other day is the average kid spends 7 minutes a day outside, something like that. It's crazy. And to that end, I think it's on all of our shoulders. It's our responsibility. There's a few millennials in here like Claire, but most people are above that age. And we all need to be working together if we're going to keep this culture of outdoor experience alive. Maybe it is a reduced number of days. It's not a 10-day trip, it's a 3-day trip, a 4-day trip. But I think we need to keep that alive, and I am hopeful that even with where technology is going, which is a complete experiment right now, we don't know where it's going to end up. What is social media? What is the amount of screen time we're putting in front of us? What is that going to do to our culture, to our psyche? I think we don't know the answer to that yet. But I am hopeful that the universal appeal of the outdoors is stronger than that, and that people will come back to it even when they get really obsessed with the technology, and that hopefully at least now the way it is can't compare to that experience you have in the outdoors. And I think anybody who's a parent here can attest to that. You go outside, you get a kid away from the screen, maybe they're kicking and screaming. My son loves his iPad. But all it takes is getting him out in a wild place, on the water, out in the woods, what have you, and he does not give it a second thought. It's just gone. And that's the only place where it's like that. In general daily routine, it's, Dad, can I have it? Dad, can I have it? You get out into wild places, in the true outdoors, and that's gone. And so that gives me hope that we'll get there. But I guess in terms of keeping me awake at night, I hope all of us, whether it's through partnerships, investment, et cetera, everybody works together to keep it alive in our culture and work it through so that we have capacity that works, so that people can find the places to go that are available.
From a company standpoint, the thing that would keep me up at night is how are we going to be able to keep up with some of the technologies, whether it be the social mediums, a website from a sales standpoint, or whatever comes in the future. It's changing so fast, and being a small company with limited resources, keeping up with that, because it doesn't matter whether you're a small company selling a product or a very large company like a Winnebago, you're all on the same playing field now of trying to keep up with technology. And technology is not cheap, and as a small company, your resources are very limited. But from the outdoor standpoint, it's more of an anecdotal comment. I met a gentleman several years ago named John Stewart from Boy Scouts of America, and there was a presentation happening from a person from Google, and they were talking about get your kids outside, make them put away their devices, force them to go do this, and they were just, the whole conversation was around that. And John took over the whole presentation. He was out in the audience, and he said, do you mind if I make a few comments? And he said, I'm executive director of Boy Scouts of America, and he told this person, he said, I respectfully disagree with everything you just said. And I was just like, wow, and you could see everyone in the audience pushing back in their chair like they were sitting in a dentist chair, because it's like, where's he going with this? And it was kind of a wow moment. And he had mentioned that Boy Scouts of America had been on a slippery slope downhill for a long time. They made a conscious decision to start wiring places. Now, this is probably a hot button topic that I'm no expert at, but that these kids in the future of our outdoor industry, we can fight the battle and we will lose. And because these kids, as you were mentioning, it's almost a fight to get them to put their things down, but if we could get it interactive where they could use some of this along with the outdoors, we might be onto something. And his comment was, we now have to turn kids away from Boy Scouts of America because there's so many kids who want to be there because they now allow them to bring their devices. They make it interactive. They make them download apps to look at the stars at night, to download apps for plants, all of these different things. It was an amazing conversation that he had on that is our future of the outdoors, and we can either fight them and lose or listen to them because they are our future and come to a happy medium somewhere with the next generation that's going to carry all of this on.
Interesting historical perspective. Usually when you adapt, you survive. None of us are riding to work on horses anymore.
Yeah, it was an amazing presentation that really flipped over to somebody else's presentation from the audience.